rules for the board. We're gonna do, the organizational meeting, we're gonna elect, board members by acclamation. What that means is that if there's no one else, selected or chosen, we'll just go ahead and, do acclamation, which is just approval of moving them in. All right. I don't know of any changes to the agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved.
So moved by Schmidt, second by Forsberg. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion passes. Moving to organization of board. Can I get a nomination for election of chairperson?
I nominate Tony Easter.
A second. Is that what we do?
You can. Other nominations? All right, so Tony Easter is, through acclamation, Tony Easter is the chairperson. Thank you, everyone.
Way to go, Tony.
Thanks. Moving to election of vice chairperson. Can I get a nomination?
I nominate Amy Hennon.
I second.
Any other nominations? Through acclamation, Amy is our vice chairperson. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Moving to, election of clerk. Can I get a nomination?
I nominate Melody Scully.
Second, let's do it.
All right, other nomination? Through acclamation, Melody Scully is our clerk. Congratulations. And election of treasurer.
I nominate Sam Bilella.
I second.
I had a conversation with Sam. Sam is unable to join us this evening. He showed interest and has, said that he approves, so, yeah, he agrees. All right, any other nominations? All right, through acclamation, Sam Villela is our treasurer. Can I get a nomination for board parliamentarian?
I nominate Kelly McClellan.
Any other nominations?
I second.
All right, so I'm gonna use that as the motion. Skelly and Schmidt to designate Kelly McClellan as the board parliamentarian who shall rule all parliamentary procedures and questions. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. All right, congratulations, Kelly.
Thank you.
All right, can I get a motion to adjourn the organizational meeting?
So moved.
So moved by Hennon,
Second.
second by Skelly, to adjourn the organizational meeting at 7:04. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Congratulations, everyone.
You as well.
Thank you. So moving to our regular meeting agenda. We already called the meeting to order. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Are there any changes to the agenda? I'm not aware of any. Can I get a motion to present the agenda as presented?
So moved.
So moved by McClellan. Second by Schmidt. To approve the agenda as presented. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion passes. Some future events. Please check the district website for a complete list of monthly events. Friday, January 17th, no school for students, staff personal work day, or professional work day. Monday, January 20th, no school for students or staff. Buildings, childcare, and district service center is closed. Tuesday, January 28th, school board work session at 5 p.m. Tuesday, February 11th, school board regular meeting at 7 PM with communication to the board and administration at 6:45 PM. Moving to consent agenda, can I get a motion?
So move.
So moved by Forsberg,
Second.
second by Skelly, to approve the following items of the consent agenda. Bills paid for November 2024 in the following amounts of $6,147,207 and personnel items. Moving on to discussion reports. Oh. No, the consent agenda? Oh, yes, true. Sorry. New year, new me. All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, motion passes. Thank you for that correction. All right, moving to discussion reports and information items. Effective operations improve our effective management of human, financial, and physical resources. 2024-2025 enrollment, registration, and grade level transitions update. Ms. Colleen Peterson,
Good evening, everyone.
welcome.
This is one of my favorite times of the year in a school district. Other than the start of the school year, this is when we get to have the very first impression with many of our families. Somewhere around 500 new enrollees that'll start with us in the fall, but 400 of them, or 450, are our kindergartners, and so this is a really exciting time for us. So I get to be here tonight to share some of our enrollment information with you. And I can tell you just today, I've had 3 different enrollment interactions with Spring Lake Park Schools. One with a parent that is returning, his son is joining us for 9th grade to Spring Lake Park Schools. As a parent, I received a text message and an email about 9th grade registration just today. And then finally, I had a conversation with one of our principals about kindergarten enrollment in our event that I'll share in just a minute. So you can just see the energy and enthusiasm and excitement that happens right around this time. So I'm excited to be here tonight. So enrollment is definitely open for the new school year, for the 25-26 year. In fact, it was open right around December 1st, so we have been accepting enrollment since that time. And enrollment is open for those that live within our school community, as well as those that might be considering open enrollment. In addition to some information that I'll share tonight, I'll also share about some of the transitions that we feel are really important here in Spring Lake Park, that 4th to 5th grade year, as well as our 8th grade to 9th grade year. This is a time, like I said, that is our ability to make that first impression on many families, but it's also our way to continue to build relationships and to know our learners deeply by their name, their strength, their interest, and need. Each year, we want to provide that warm welcome and ease the anxieties and answer questions as we strengthen those partnerships. So we'll share a little bit tonight about kindergarten enrollment and our early childhood programs, our Westwood transitions, and then the high school transitions as well. So early childhood, the communication team and the community ed department has been working very hard to make sure that our families in the community know everything that they need to know about early childhood, as well as kindergarten. We have reached out to our families that we know have 0 to 5 aged children in their households, and want to make sure that they know who we are and that they're a part of our school district, even at birth. So we are, this year, really having a strong focus on reaching out to our daycare providers, both in-home providers, as well as we call them big box providers, like your New Horizons, your KinderCare. One, to find out if they have 4-year-olds that will be kindergartners this fall. We want to make sure that we're starting their learner profiles. We want to make sure that the families have the information that they need, as well as we are welcoming the daycares that are just outside the boundary, but could easily be added to a bus route to make sure that those families who might choose that and maybe live within our school district, but know that we have some options there as well for them. So we're excited about that. We have had many ways of reaching out to our kindergarten families, including home mailings, email, in-person events, and we're doing so at a regular frequency. You'll see in just a minute what that looks like, but the priority placement deadline for kindergarten enrollment is February 28th. What does that mean? It just means if you're interested in, say, our Spanish immersion program, and we have more demand than we have capacity, a lottery could be used for that. So we always just recommend get in there and enroll right away. Make sure that we have you on our radar so that we can make decisions and help you along the way. So here's what we've been doing for kindergarten this year. Starting in October, we sent a mailing to all households with children ages 0 to 5. That mailing included not only kindergarten information as well as our kindergarten events that'll be happening later this month and in February, but all of our information about preschool and early childhood family education classes as well, and screening. So we made sure that we were getting out there early and welcoming those families with young children. In December, we opened up enrollment, and then we had a first class letter from our K-4 principals to those that we knew about on our census list. So they've been involved with early childhood programming. We knew about them from birth records, from hospitals, or they have a sibling in our schools, and so those are the students that we expect to come, and so they were welcomed with a principal letter. Our kindergarten brochure will be mailed or hitting homes right now in January, and then we start our new family kindergarten events. This event has changed over time, but we welcome everyone to these events, whether you're new to the system or not, but they are really targeted for those families that may have a new kindergartner and have lots of questions. Again, to ease those anxieties and to get to know our families well. We will have tours. We have tours all year long, but in January and February, it seems to ramp up a little bit. We have digital and other marketing that's happening, and I've already spoken about the daycares and preschools. In February, we will start reaching out to those that we have not yet seen. So we want them to come in and start that enrollment process. But if we have you on our list and we haven't heard from you, then we start calling you. And so if you don't want to hear from us 3 or 4 times in the next couple months, come on in and check us out. And then between March and April, that's when we'll send our confirmation letters home. Our phone calls will continue for those that we want to try to reach. And then finally in May, we'll have our K in Action event, where the families will come in with their littles and the kindergartners get to do some station time with the classroom teachers. I know I've got some here in the room tonight, and so the classroom teachers have stations set aside for them while the parents get their questions and answers. And then in August, we have a 3-day kinder camp. These are our K New Family events that'll be coming up. Again, North Point, January 28th, that's our first one, and we'll finish up with Park Terrace, February 6th. Each one of these start at 5:30. I can anticipate that the principal will have a message starting about 6 o'clock. There's tours, and like I said, we were just at North Point this morning, running through that with the North Point team, and we're excited for that first event. So that 4th to 5th grade year can be challenging. It can have some anxieties around it, but it doesn't need to be, because we do our very best to make sure that that transition is as easy for families and students as possible. So in January, our K-4 principals will send a message to our families, what they can expect, the timeline. In February, our families will receive an email and a text from our Westwood administration team. And then February 19th, we'll have overview sessions on WebEx for our families at convenient times of 9, 1, and 6. So hopefully we'll get as many families as possible on those calls. March 27th, our students and families get to visit from 5:30 to 7:30. And then finally in May, our kiddos get to come over to Westwood, our 4th graders. That's always a fun day where they get to visit the school. And then I believe our Westwood Panther mentors play a role in that, and they walk around the school with the students, which is great. 7th and 8th grade elective registration begins February 21st for 7th graders, and March 6th is 8th graders. So students can explore or stay within one elective path, but there will be lots of information for families to come out on that. Westwood counselors will have one-on-one and small group conversations with students to build those learner profiles and to get to know what their interests might be, and that'll help inform those registration choices. And then finally, our families are invited to learn more on February 11th for the 6th to 7th grade transition, and then February 25th for our 7th to 8th grade registration information. And all of this information is obviously out on our website, so if you're not writing it down, it's all available out there for you. High school registration, that's the text and the email that I got tonight. Registration is open for high school right now. So our intent is to be purposeful and intentional in supporting students in their future planning, and we have a variety of touch points to make that happen. So, yesterday, Monday, January 13th, high school registration opened for next year. Registration materials, including the course catalog, and an interactive guide was posted. If you haven't seen that recently, I know the team worked very hard on that product last year, and it's a great resource, both for students and for families. I've enjoyed looking through it, and it just gives really it's an amazing how much we offer our high school students. The online family information sessions, which will provide a general overview, are listed there. They are separated by grade level so that we can personalize it to the questions that might be pertinent to that grade level. And then January 28th, our high school counselors will visit the 8th graders at Westwood. February 5th, we have an Explore Your Options event at the high school from 5 to 7. I know this is, I think, the second year that the high school has offered this event, but it was well received and attended last year, so we expect the same this year. And then Friday, February 14th, high school registration closes for next year, so encourage high school families to get in there with their students and make sure that those decisions are being made.
Colleen?
Yes.
Is the Explore Your Options targeting the 9th graders?
It's exploring all, I believe. Yep, so if parents have questions around registration, that is the night that in person. And of course, our conference opportunities in the next month for those students that are already at the high school, that would be another way that, between the counselors or with the teaching staff, that they would hear maybe how to direct that path for their student. And that's it. So any questions about enrollment, registration?
Any questions from the board?
Oh, awesome. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving to effective operations, improve our effective management of human, financial, and physical resources. Monthly financial report for November 2024. Ms. Amy Schultz.
All right, good evening, school board. Tonight, we're actually going to combine our two financial presentations together. Under this topic, it's going to be our monthly financial report as well as the budget revisions. And since the board has heard about that so many times, we're just going to kind of wrap them together. So with that, we'll start with our monthly financial report. Again, the board sees this each month. It is a cash basis report. So our first one being the treasurer's report. Shows our beginning and ending cash balances, as well as our receipts and disbursements for the month of November. With that, it's a relatively, similar receipts month. Our big one in November is our taxes. Think about it, when you pay your property taxes, it's May and October. So the receipts that come in November are a big part of that. That was almost $6.5 million of our receipts. Another $2 million in state aid as part of that. And the state does that a little bit intentionally. They know that we get a large payment in November, so they reduce the metered aid payment in that same month. So it's one of our lower state ones because of the higher tax month. On the disbursement side, we are about $1.5 million higher than what maybe a normal month would look like. A lot of that has to do with projects, such as we had a payment for our LED project that was almost $500,000 in November. We do have a chiller that had gone down at the high school, so we're paying for a temporary rental chiller. That's almost $100,000 a month. So that's something that will be set to be replaced this summer. And then some of them are more of our either annual or quarterly payments that also hit in November. And that's one of those, such as our property and liability insurance, as well as just quarterly ones, such as unemployment and our purchase staff that we get from Northeast Metro 916. So that's our cash basis. For receipts and disbursements. On the statement of revenues, this report shows our November revenues as well as where we sit year to date so far, our budget for the year, and where that as a percentage stands to our budget for the past 2 years. I do want to point out the budget revisions the board will be hearing right after this have not been taken into account yet until the board approves it. So we're still working with our original adopted budget from June. And so with that, on the revenue side, general fund is really actually staying fairly well in line with where it's been the last few years. For food service, we are, again, I know we mentioned this last month, a little bit ahead of where we've been behind where we've been the past couple of years because of the supply chain assistance federal funds that had been received the past 2 years that were really an upfront beginning of the year aid payment that we received, and that money has since run out, so we are no longer receiving that. On the debt service, we have talked about this one a few times. This relates to the timing and recording of our bond refunding that we did over the summer. Originally, it was budgeted that we would record it for July. And during the course of the audit, we actually ended up recording it back to June, which was the date of the sale versus the date you actually receive everything. So that it was recorded, last year, so we saw that as a part of the audit. And so now we will be doing that as a budget revision later to reflect that recording in the previous year. For our other post-employment benefits, this is one we don't usually spend a lot of time on. It's one of our smaller budgets. It is, if you look back a couple of years ago, it was higher, and that was a December payment that was actually received in November that year. So it kind of skewed it for that 1 year. So that is on the statement of revenues. Statement of expenditures is set up the same way. On this one, on our general fund, you can see we are ahead of where we have been the previous couple years at this point in November. We had a settled contract that involved one-time payments. And so with that, those were made in November, so it's really making it look like we are ahead of where we were those past few years because of that payment. And other pieces to that, if you look, then really from supplies on down, we are a little bit, running ahead on some of those, in some areas, behind in others. Really, it's all about the timing of projects. So last year's was a little bit lower. That was some of those projects, such as furniture, and some of those that didn't get done over the summer by June 30th. LED project as well. A lot of that happened in July and August. So we are looking like we're ahead of those for the current year. Again, something we'll see in our budget revisions, but ahead then because we budgeted for them last year, so it looked lower when we pushed that timing. On the food service fund, you can see that we are a little bit behind on that compared to last year. Last year, we did have equipment purchases that were done sort of towards the very beginning of the school year. And so we are a little bit behind that. We do have a few that will probably bring that back up come December and January as we paid for a few pieces of equipment in the current year. And then on the debt side, our bond refunding timing again. So that is what we have for the financial report. If there are any questions on that before we start the budget revisions, we could do that.
Any questions?
All right. So as Joe pulls up the budget revisions, again, this is one we'll go through really quick. The board has been hearing about a lot of these for the past several months, so this is not new to them, and they've had a chance to ask a lot of questions, and understand where these revisions are coming from. So with that, just a real quick update on our budget process. So school districts have a July 1st through June 30th fiscal year, and so with that, we are required to have an original budget approved in June. So we have done that. Subsequent to an original budget adoption, if there are any assumptions that change, such things that come up that you weren't expected, timing of projects, things like that, we do revisions as necessary throughout that school year. So we're bringing those forward tonight. And really tonight we are hitting really all four of our major funds. So general, food service, community ed, and debt service. On our general fund, you can see the increases. Revenue went up by some federal awards. It was a small increase in our general fund for revenues. But that's usually in September is when we'll get an update for our title grant awards. And they each went up just a little bit. So on the expenditure side, we do see adjustments, increases for transportation, and as well as the one-time facilities project costs. So we've talked about several of those in the past, LED, the furniture, the Park Terrace roof that was done part last year and the second half being moved into this next summer. So those make up a lot of that. There were also slight decreases in compensation, and those were mostly related to just some positions that haven't been filled, primarily in our paraprofessionals. On the food service fund, revenue increases are for just participation in breakfast and lunch, so sales have gone up. On the other side, then you will see increases in milk and food that relates to those, as well as now that we are anticipating some kitchen equipment to be purchased as well. On the community service fund, revenue is increasing compared to the original budget for increases in program participation. Expenditure adjustments then also directly relate to the increase in participation, as well as increases in student transportation for some of our early childhood programs. And then on the debt service fund is one we've talked about several times with the timing of that bond refunding. So a quick look at the chart. I know the board has a table in their packet as well that would match this. So you can see just those slight increases in the general fund, increases in the other funds as well. So our revenue budget in total is going from 128 million down to 114 million. The majority of that in the debt service fund. so that's really where most of that hits, not in our operating. And then on the expenditure side, you can see, the increase there as well, okay, Yvonne, I'm sorry, Yvonne and I and Joe went through uploading this several times, and it doesn't match again. On the revenue revised for the general fund, it should be about 102 million. The table in the packet does match what it should be, so we'll make sure that reflects that in the presentation as well. We were having a hard time getting it uploaded, and we tried 4 different times, and it matched, and now it's not matching. So, we'll get those numbers. It should be 102 million and some change in the general fund. The other funds are good the way they are. So with that, it is actually really close between the original and revised in total, with the decrease in the debt service and the increase in the general fund and other operating accounts. So with that, with just kind of an update on where we sit for the 2025-26 budget. So this will be next school year. This spring through November, or this past spring through November, we've been doing kind of those ongoing adjustments to the current year. With that, we are always considering what those adjustments to the current year have for implications going into next year. And so then again, with that, we will continue looking at that as well as any other staffing adjustments for the rest of this school year. Then so now through February, we'll be continuing to update the guiding change document that we use to kind of guide our budget planning. And the initial resource allocation packet that we give to principals and school leaders will be distributed in February as well. But the discussions have already begun with principals to start planning for that. March and April, we'd go through our staffing process, continuing to update the school board with where we sit and any changes potentially in legislation or other items we're aware of. Again, revising that guiding change. And then at the May work session, which is scheduled for May 27th, we would be bringing the proposed budget. And then June 10th would be bringing the final budget for approval. With that, are there any questions on budget revisions?
I just wanted to add one thing. So as we look at this, as you know, as a board, we spent time at our retreat this fall and looking at those assumptions within the guiding change of what we're looking at for revenue assumptions from the state, the expenses related to the mandates, et cetera, with those assumptions. It is going to be interesting to see how this legislative session influences those assumptions. One of the things I'd like to point out, though, is that we're fortunate to be in a healthy financial position with a fund balance that we can move forward with the assumptions that we have, even though we are at risk of losing significant compensatory dollars right now with, unless that's a fix happens in the legislative session this spring. My concern is right now there seems to be a lot of dysfunction down in St. Paul, and we'll have to see how they're able to work and hopefully get some of those things fixed. But we'll take all of us doing some advocacy for that. But just wanted to point out again, we'll be able to continue with those assumptions into next year and not have to worry about that. But depending on what happens in St. Paul, that may lead to us having to make some adjustments in the future. So let's cross our fingers and do some advocacy that they'll get some good work done in St. Paul.
Thanks. Other questions, board members?
No, I just wanted to mention again that as Amy has mentioned and you've mentioned that we have seen this several times. We are fortunate enough to be walked through this many times, which is good for us. So we do, whatever questions we've had the opportunity to ask, which is great. So.
All right, thank you. This will come up for an action item then later on in the agenda. So.
Correct. Yeah. Thanks, Amy. Moving on to superintendent report.
Yeah, if that gets pulled up there, I think. As that gets pulled up, I'll just add again, how important it is for people to know that we're in a point where we're not looking at reductions. And I just want to emphasize that because a lot of surrounding districts are in the midst of that. And I've had a few questions. So for our community, we have no plans to make any kind of budget cuts or reductions for next year. We do sit in a healthy position. But we are going to have to, hope that in St. Paul, our legislators continue with the funding that they've had in place and they fix some of those compensatory things. And we'll spend a lot of time talking about that as the spring goes on. But I have had a couple questions on that, so I did want to point that out. So, moving on. Some fun things to share with you. I have to turn this on. There we go. So first, we have some fifth graders who did a deep dive in social studies, looking at a 500-year-old sunken ship. So see that you're having fun with that. It's always fun to share these pictures. This is kids having a fun game of hand hockey during morning meeting. So, and I'll give you a minute on each of these to read the fun description that Erica and her team have provided for you. So our Journey team in grade 7-8 completed their solar system unit, and Peyton is proudly displaying her solar system mobile. Okay, North Point had their Pep Fest, and they had Parker the Panther and our high school pep band up there. I think that's one of the things that's really fun about our school district is that we're a one high school district, so everybody is a Panther. And so you can have events like this and have Parker the Panther up there and our pep band and so on. Not every district is fortunate enough to have that.
Tongue twister.
Yeah,
Parker the Panther pep band.
Yeah. So, but that's pretty fun to see. Bowling and PE plus math, so learning a lifetime sport and learning math at the same time. Okay, some Westwood students exploring chemical reactions, so. So Layla, you guys can correct me if I'm saying this wrong, Tatyashek, is that right? Yes, and Carter Walter were our AAA award winners. So that's because of their participation in academics, arts, and athletics. So. All right, and then Lighthouse. I don't even know if I should, it reads better than maybe it says. Lighthouse in-house field trip was a hoot. So the Raptor Center visited with students who are learning about owls, hawks, and eagles, so. Okay, so this was kind of fun. Reader's Choice Award, once again, Spring Lake Park High School was voted the best public school in the area by readers of the local Life newspaper. So that's pretty fun to see. It's had multiple years they've been voted by the surrounding area. So pretty cool. So this was just on January 8th. We had all of our teachers who are facilitating literacy professional learning at their buildings. We're here on January 8th to prepare for the upcoming day on January 17th, on Friday. So just related to that, a couple reminders. So there is no school for students this Friday's Professional Learning Day for staff. January 20th is holiday with no school. And then in February on the 13th and 14th and the 18th, so those Thursday, Friday, and Monday, there will be no school. There'll be professional learning one of those days, and then conferences and time for teachers to prep and plan for those conferences. And then you already had a chance to hear about this from Colleen, our kindergarten new family information nights when she was up here. Did a great job with that. And then we have this Panthers for a Purpose, and I just asked if Colleen would come up and share a little information about this with you.
Yes, so our Panthers for a Purpose Week of Giving is coming up at the end of February, and that event really is a celebration for our entire Panther community. Yes, there is a fundraising aspect to it, but you don't have to fundraise in order to participate. So I can tell you that as of tonight, we've already raised $40,000 with our sponsors, including our annual sponsors. So that's a great start for what this is the largest fundraising event for the Panther Foundation, and they give so much to the school district every year. But the Panthers for a Purpose Week of Giving has many opportunities for people to participate, including Dine to Donate. We have 8 local restaurants that are participating this year. All you have to do, if you're a family that likes to take out or likes to maybe go out once a week or something like that, we have those restaurant opportunities for you to do that. So you go, you have dinner, and then you're actually donating to the Panther Foundation and the Spring Lake Park Schools. We have Spirit Days, so we are only in session, I believe, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday of that week, because we are off Monday and Tuesday, Jeff, I think. Monday and Tuesday of that week, but we come back in session Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and we'll have Spirit Days, so blue out, red out, and white out days, which will be important. And then the silent auction will start Wednesday of that week. We have usually about 400 to 450 items, ranging from $25 all the way up to $500 in our silent auction. So encourage the community, and you can do that from the comfort of your home or your office. if you'd like to do it during your workday. And then, finishing out that week, we have the party at Bunker Hills. That event is on February 22nd, which is a Saturday evening. It starts at 5. Guests will enjoy the live auction. Taco bar is new this year. Social hour. We have a Fun to Dream, and then entertainment by a dueling piano group. So it'll be a really wonderful evening. We expect somewhere around 250 to be in attendance. But again, it's everyone in that room loves Spring Lake Park Schools, and it's just kind of that event that makes everybody just feel really good about being a Panther. Right now, we have early bird tickets on sale. They're on sale through Monday, or through Sunday. So on Monday, ticket prices go up. So if you're considering coming, I would encourage you to do so right now. And then finally, we have a really exciting Fun to Dream this year that is a bit new for the foundation. We have been funding experiences that fall into the X Factor, is what we're calling it. But the X Factor is supporting exceptional experiences, primarily those that happen outside of the school day. So those connections with youth sports, with activities, clubs, athletics after school. It's really everything K-12 when you think about what happens outside of the school day and how we connect with students and create that spark or find that spark within a student with their interests. So excited about that. So any questions? Thank you.
Just point out that I gave her all of about a 3-minute heads up that I was gonna call her up here to do that, so she did a great job. She did ask for 20 minutes, I said 2, so, yeah, so. All right, and that's it, unless there's any questions.
Any questions?
Don't miss it, it's fun.
Yes, it is. Thank you, Marilyn. Okay, moving to action items. Acknowledgement of gifts. Can I get a motion? So moved by Forsberg. Second by Hennan. To approve the following resolution. Whereas School Board Policy 706 establishes guidelines for the acceptance of gifts to the district, and whereas Minnesota Statute 465.03 states that a school board may accept a gift of real or personal property by the adoption of a resolution approved by 2/3 of its members. Therefore, be it resolved that the school board of Spring Lake Park Schools accepts with appreciation the gifts as shown. Any discussion? I always want to say thank you to the community for their generosity, and it is greatly appreciated. So thank you, thank you. Clerk, would you please call roll?
Yes. McClellan. Yes. Schmidt.
Yes.
Hennan.
Yes.
Forsberg.
Yes.
Skelly. Yes. And Easter.
Yes,
The resolution has been passed on a 6-0 vote.
thank you. Moving to pay equity implementation report. Can I get a motion? So moved by McClellan, seconded by Schmidt, to direct the administration to support the pay equity implementation report for the calendar year ended December 31st, 2024, to the Department of Employee Relations. And Tony Mayer, would you like to, can you provide more information on this? I know this is something that we action every, 3 years?
That's exactly
Yeah.
right. Good evening,
Okay.
Board. As Tony was just saying, every 3 years, each public jurisdiction in the state is required to complete a statistical analysis and submit reports to the state demonstrating that there aren't any gender-based wage inequities within the organization. Essentially, what that means is that men and women are being paid statistically similarly for similar levels of responsibility. And basically, we have a leveling system within the organization, and we have passed this test again. I don't think we've ever failed it. So, in addition, the statute also requires the board to take action on it and for us to post public notice in our schools.
Great. Is the report filed annually, or is it every 3 years?
Every 3 years.
Every 3 years,
Yes.
okay.
Yep. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Those opposed, motion passes. Approval of budget revision for financial year 2025. Can I get a motion?
So moved.
So moved by Scully,
Second.
second by Hennan. to approve the revised 2024-2025 budget as shown below. And below is, a chart of what, was presented earlier. Any further discussion? Or any other questions? All in favor, please say aye. Those opposed? Motion passes. And moving on to board forum and reports. We'll start with our student reps. Welcome back, Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. So, we have a lot of sports and clubs going on right now. To start with, our club, DECA Districts happened recently, and it was held in the high school, which is really cool. We had a bunch of other schools come to the high school and be able to use our building for such a big event. Additionally, girls hockey is doing really well. They are third in the state, and they had a game at 7, so they're probably playing right now. We have, as an example, girls hockey is a co-op, and we have other co-ops in the school. Wrestling is one I know of, and co-ops are such a great thing that we have because it allows students to meet people from other schools, and you know, sometimes there can be animosity between schools, but the co-ops allow everybody to come together and unite around sports, I guess. And then our adaptive sports team went up to Moorhead for a bowling competition, and it was really cool. All of the students and parents went on the bus together, and you know, it's a long bus ride, so it was a nice bonding opportunity. So yeah. And then finally, there is a music festival coming up wherein SLP is showcasing some all-state music people, and we have the most out of our whole conference, so yeah, excelling in arts and sports.
Awesome.
Yeah, so we're in the middle of the try. So even though it may seem like it's a lull and, you know, it's only January, so everyone's kind of tired, we have so much going on, whether it's keeping up with your schoolwork or just keeping up with all the after-school activities we have going on. For example, Student Council, we're in our second busiest season of the year, which is our Winter Spirit Week. We've been planning that for a few weeks now. It's really fun. I mean, in those meetings to see all the different students be in the committees. We have about 6 committees, and the ideas that they come up with and that we're hoping to showcase this year, I'm excited about, and I'm hoping that everyone else is excited for them when they come. And the One Act they're rehearsing right now, and their show's open next weekend. It's free to the public. You don't need to buy a ticket. You can just show up, and we're really encouraging people to go because this is their kind of rehearsal before the competition, and we've done really good in the One Act competitions in past years. So, I mean, if you want to see a good show, we already know Girls in the Boat will be a good show, and it's about the first women's Olympic rowing team. So we're really proud of them. We're wishing them luck on their competition, and we're hoping people come support them.
Awesome. I'm looking for Randy to go to that. Yeah. All right. Board members, we'll start on this side. Any updates?
Not exactly an update per se, but one more activity that's recently happened is the Nordic ski team went up north to Giants Ridge. And I think it should be said that any coaches willing to take 60 students on a couple overnights in the cold because they're Nordic, I think is something that doesn't happen in every school. And so I appreciate the coaches willing to do that, and then the students that they get the chance to ski where actually we haven't had a lot of snow this year, right? And so to go up north and have some good skiing.
I'm going to start by saying, as a high school Nordic skier whose team did go to Giants Ridge, I second that. It's a big job, but great for the students. I attended the Woodcrest PTO meeting last night. It was great to see everybody. They talked about lots of different things as usual, but 2 things I wanted to mention. One, tomorrow night is their Dine to Donate event at Tipsy Steer. And from 4 to 7, if you go there, you don't even have to mention their name. They get a portion of the proceeds if you show up there and eat or drink. So encourage everybody to do that. And the other thing I was gonna mention, just for any families who might be watching and interested, they live stream all of their PTO meetings on Facebook, and I know a lot of the other PTOs do as well. So it's just something to look for on Facebook if you're interested and can't make it but wanna watch. So, that's it.
Thanks. And we'll go to this side.
And I did not go to the last Lighthouse meeting because I couldn't, but the one prior to that, they were discussing the Raptors. And so it was fun to be able to see this whole thing come to life on the images here. So that was kind of fun to see. And then I just wanted to say too, I really do enjoy having the student reps. You guys are like always a highlight for me too. I just love hearing from the students and seeing the things that you're excited about and how well spoken y'all are. And so it's encouraging and fun for me. So thank you guys.
Marilyn, any updates? Don't forget your mic,
I was
Marilyn.
at the AMSD meeting, and some of you may have been, and all I can say is, nobody knows. It was the meeting with the legislators, and their comments were interesting, but things are, not moving along real smoothly, so we will see, and we know that there's not an abundance of funding, and the long-range outlook is somewhat bleak. 916 doesn't meet until tomorrow night. They usually meet the first Wednesday of the month, but it's it's the second, so boards have an opportunity to have their own meetings first, and I know that there will be at least 3 new members on that board. And if any of you are interested in that board at some point in time, I would be happy to visit with you. I mean, there may come a point when I don't want to roam around at night in the dark at 0 and go to White Bear Lake. But I would be happy to tell you what responsibilities go along with that. The interesting meeting I was at was Help Me Grow. I'm the school board member with about 30 early ed, special ed specialists of various kinds from hospitals and from groups. And it's an 7 county group. And they have been doing interesting work. They try to find 0 to 5 children who need special ed services. And then they are referred to as school districts. So that's how school districts get involved in that. And they have a lot of videos that they have, and one that they are developing is protecting the developing brain, which is something that has been requested because various groups and districts want to know what the effect of cannabis is on infant brains. This group sends out information to clinics, doctors' offices, community events, wherever they can. In the last quarter, they sent out 95,000 pieces of literature. And the other interesting presentation, that MDE and children and youth have been divided. And so there's some overlap, there's some parallel, there's some no crossover at all between those divisions. So they are working through that. And there is a new early childhood longitudinal data system that is it's in use and it's being developed. And we have something called SLEDS, which is K-12, but this is early ed information. And it's being used, and as of now, it is being used. Minnesota system is being used by other states because they've also inserted census data into it. So that was really an interesting presentation, and I'm sure that our Colleen and some of her colleagues are familiar with that system. But really, really very interesting.
Wow. Thanks. That is, I didn't even know that system existed until you mentioned it, so.
Well, Help Me Grow is funded through a federal grant. And the state is divided into regions. And the metro, Seven County Metro, provides a lot of the printed materials for the other regions throughout the state. So we have some activities that not all regions have. But they have ambassadors who are fluent in other languages, who are trying to access those communities, and really quite an active organization.
Yeah, I appreciated that effort, absolutely. Thank you, Marilyn. Okay, any other updates? All right, no other updates?
Actually, I wanted to share one more thing.
Okay.
That I forgot to mention, just because I think this is kind of cool. And next week, I had the picture showing some of our elementary lead teachers who were in on January 8th to prepare for this coming Friday. Well, next Wednesday, we have our secondary teacher leaders coming in, which we've shown you some images of them doing that. What's going to be kind of cool is they're going to be doing a tour of Centerview. Is there any other schools or just Centerview? Centerview and Park Terrace. So they're going to go as middle school and high school teachers to learn from some of our elementary teachers about the work that they're doing. And then they're also going to get to hear from a panel of teachers who recently presented to a group. We had some schools in Ohio that wanted to learn about what our teachers are doing to personalize learning and really work to deepen the engagement of students. And right after they got done, Hope came over to me. She couldn't have been more proud because she did no prep for these teachers. It was just all them speaking with pride about the work they're doing. And we thought there'd be a ton of benefit for our secondary teachers to hear these elementary teachers talk about the work they're doing. So it's just kind of fun. I just wanted to share that because sometimes we share these pictures where it's elementary learning with elementary and secondary with secondary. That day is going to be really bringing our secondary teachers into our elementary schools and then learning with and from some of our elementary teachers. So kind of cool.
That's great.
I hope that we can hear feedback from that.
Yeah.
Once it happens, because I'd be really interested to know.
Sure.
Kind of hear what they say and what the teachers feel, and
Yeah.
after listening to that, we really are learning from them. It'd be really cool to hear. So,
Cool. I can do that. Yep.
thanks.
Thanks. All right. Should we move to adjournment? Can I get a motion? So moved by Forsberg. Second by Schmidt. To adjourn the meeting at 7:52. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion passes. Meeting is adjourned. Thanks, everyone. Thanks.